This one is for consistency. Greetings and welcome to the Dangerous Gentleman podcast. Yes, I am the Dangerous Gentleman. No, I did not give myself that nickname, but I certainly did earn it. Yes, this episode is for the sake of consistency. It's not going to be so much about consistency, but for the sake of consistency. And so I'll explain a little bit about what that means. What it means is that I had every reason in the book to not record an episode this week for Friday. With everything that's gone on this week, I could have easily just mailed it in and been like, we'll skip it and we'll get right back on track for next week. But if you know anything about my personality, even if I have that excuse, I never really give myself one. I'm one of those people who's going to keep his commitment no matter what. It was drilled into me when I was a kid that you swear to your own hurt. If you make a commitment to something, you're going to do it. Even if it's going to hurt. Even if you don't want to do it anymore. Even if it's extremely uncomfortable. Even if a better option presents itself. I'm going to keep my first commitment. A vast, like 95%, 95 to 99% of the time. Because I'm going to feel bad if I make a commitment and then I go back on it. It's gotten me in trouble a few times. But for the most part, that idea has served me well. I probably stuck in my first marriage for too long for that very reason. And it's because I feel like I want to give the person, the situation, whatever it is, the best opportunity to succeed. The best opportunity to play itself out. I feel like if I back off, then I'm pulling my trust. That I'm showing a lack of commitment. And as a man, that was one of the things that I grew up with. It was when you're a man, you commit to things. And I'll explain a little bit about why my week has been so busy, because it's actually pretty cool. But I also just want to let you know, I might be a little bit emotional tonight. Number one, because I'm tired. But number two, my friend Nathan, he posted in a group chat, I believe it was last week, that he had a book that he wanted to give out to someone in the group. And it was about family worship. And I definitely wasn't a very good example of a man who leads family worship when I was married. But I just made the comment, I said, hey, I know I'm not married. I know I'm the only one in here who doesn't have kids. But, I kind of like that book. For the day, to speak prophetically to the day that when I might have another chance to have a family. And today, on my way in, I checked the mail, and there's a package from my friend Nathan. Not only did he send me that book, he sent me like 3 other books about how to lead your family in worship, how to lead your family in the Bible, and just how to lead your family as a man. And he left this really great note. So this is the note that my friend Nathan sent. Andrew, I'm sending you this set of resources in good faith that the Lord will give you a wife and a family to lead. I'm certain that He is preparing you presently for that glorious future. Don't give up the hope you have in Him. He doesn't give His sons stones when they pray for bread. His steadfast love endures forever. Your brother, Nathan. And I wasn't expecting it to touch me so much, but it just really meant a lot. And I believe at some point in the future that God is going to have a great wife for me. And if He, in His grace, allows me to be a father to some children of my own again, or to be the father to children that are that are not mine. I look forward to the opportunity, if he graces me with that I look forward to being able to step up and be able to do that. Because, I'll always be a father. I'll always have my 3 children. But due to my mistakes, I don't get to parent them on a daily basis. And I kind of like to do that again. Again, whether that's with children of my own or if I'm helping raise someone else's children. So, yeah, that hit me today. And, but I really just wanted to drop this episode. I was going to not. Even my editor's like, hey, you have an episode for this week? Because, we could just skip this week and not worry about it. And I thought about it, and I was going to give myself the excuse not to, but for the sake of consistency, here I am. This is episode 94, so we're getting really close to 100. And I could have wrote it in, but there's so much power to me in keeping your word and keeping your commitments, no matter what. And just so you know, I am still going to drop part 2 of my road to recovery story, because when I last talked, last shared a story, it was right up to the day that I attended my first NA meeting, and as you can imagine, the journey after that's pretty long and in my mind, it's a pretty amazing journey. So I'll definitely be dropping that this next week. 3 days from now, I'll have 8 years clean and sober. That's a pretty big deal. Anyway, so that's why I wanted to drop this episode. And now to just tell you a little bit about why it is that I've been so busy and so crazy this last week without getting into too much of the backstory. So some friends of mine, some people I know around here, every year they do this big formal dinner and dance. They call it the banquet and ball. And it includes teaching. It includes sword fighting and teachings on etiquette and teachings on all of these really cool topics. And it really just kind of takes you back to the days when people used to do these kinds of things that people just, especially young people, just don't do anymore. And so they wanted to restore that idea to a modern culture to inspire people young and old that there's a better way to live. And so because I'm a member of the board of this organization that's kind of the parent of this banquet and ball, the board asks me to be a representative, be a liaison to kind of keep an eye on things, on how they go. So I went to a lot of planning meetings and stuff like that. That's how they got me involved. And then they're like, hey, Andrew, you should go to the thing. I went in 2017, 2018, 2019. I went 3 years, I think. And it had been a few years. And they're like, Andrew, you should go. I was like, nah, I'm old guy, whatever. And they talked me into it. And then they're like, hey, Andrew, you kind of know what you're talking about. I mean, you do a podcast, stuff like that. Do you want to teach a lesson? I was like, oh, okay. So they asked me to teach a lesson. So now I'm a representative of the board, and I'm going to the thing, and I'm teaching a lesson. And then, a week and a half ago, they're like, oh, geez, we don't have anyone to cook a meal. One of the nights, their plans fell through, and they needed someone to cook a meal. So hey, Andrew, can you cook meat for 60 people? And I was like, sure. So the weekend before that the whole event started, I spent 2 days cooking food for 60 people. And then they're like, oh, hey, we actually need a place for a person to stay too. So now I'm hosting someone. I'm the board representative. I'm attending the thing, and I'm cooking food, and I'm teaching a lesson, and I'm hosting people. So I'm about as involved as you can get without being actually one of the leaders of the thing. And I went, and it kind of, I wasn't expecting a whole lot because I've been before and stuff like that, but it really just kind of they knocked it out of the park. I had my questions about the guy who was in charge of it, but he knocked it out of the park, and it was an amazing event. And just to give you a little nibble of how it went, the last set of dances, there was 6 dances in the last set. We had to leave the venue we were in. And so we had to go with the alternative plan, which was to take our sound system outside and set it up, and to go outside to this kind of covered terrace. Well, what do you know? It's snowing. Not blizzarding, but just snowing. And then since it was after midnight on New Year's Eve, there were people lighting off fireworks. And so now here we are, there's like 50, 60 people, men in tuxedos, women in ball gowns, and we're outside and we're dancing in the snow literally falling all around us, and fireworks going off. Tuxedos, ball gowns, snow, fireworks, ballroom dancing. It doesn't really get any more epic than that. So, like, for that moment alone, it was worth all the work that I had put in, all the cooking and all the teaching and all the time spent at the event. And I was thinking as the event was finishing up, like, where was my life the last time I attended this? The last time I attended it, my friend invited me at the last minute. And I went because I was new in town and I didn't know anybody, and I was probably just going to end up sitting in my house watching TV and falling asleep early. Like, I barely had a job. Like, everything in my life I was just barely not at the bottom. And so I had the opportunity to just kind of compare, and I just sat at the table and I was just thinking about my life then compared to what my life now. It was just a great way. Like, it was just a very epic way to spend the new year, to think about how far I've come in the 7 years since the first time I attended it. So originally I was just going to drop this and just be like, hey, this episode is for the sake of consistency. But the more I thought about it, the more I even just sat here talking through it, I realized that I really did have something to say this week. Sometimes you just keep plugging along, you keep doing the consistency thing, right? And you think, oh, I'm just doing this to do this. And then it actually turns into something cool. And that's kind of how I'm feeling right now, just literally as I'm recording this episode. I just did this just to knock something out, just to get something done. It's very impactful. It's just even sitting here now, appreciating right now how God is using this moment for me. And I hope he uses it to talk to you a little bit. Yeah. So I hope you get something out of it, and we'll talk to you next time.
So if you like this content, please give it a rating, a review, and share it with your friends. Also, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about me and what I'm all about and what I can maybe do for you, check out my website at thedangerousgentleman.org. That's thedangerousgentleman.org. Thank you for listening.